for the way that your stories get formulated, one of the questions that I was really curious and excited to ask you about is I guess really the closest thing to asking an author of where they get their ideas from is kind of maybe how their perspective is wired. And I always wondered with reading the stories that you've got laid out in this collection of Night Marchers, is I always wondered if maybe the way that you looked at some of these locales and looked at some of these situations that you put the characters through, uh, and perhaps the way that you look at the world, Dan, do you find that you look at the world very much the same way as a lot of these characters, and that perhaps you look at the world as, having those supernatural elements, having those magical aspects to it more as uh, a defense for maybe the reality of what really is? Or do you find that you kind of look at the world in sort of a wondrous way because you might look down an alley and, some of us might see a serial killer waiting for us in the shadows, but maybe you're looking down that alley and you're picturing some magical dimensional state of, a doorway or something down there. What do you find that that's like, how do you travel the world, I suppose, as it relates to how you view your stories and tell them?
Oh, I like that question. I think it really it's around the world of horror inspiration. I can't help but mention, Rick, you and I met in connection. There was a wonderful panel at the Scares That Care Author Con. It was a psychological horror panel.
Right.
I think you asked a really great question. And yeah, a lot of horror authors I learned do have the cathartic approach.
Hmm.
Um, at least I'm not consciously doing that. My approach, I think, maybe veers more towards the other half of what you said, of more of the daydreaming and the imaginative. Often my inspiration, or the part that I can't put my finger on, the part that comes as closest to the magic, it comes from setting. Like often something about a setting, either someplace that I've been or someplace that I'm daydreaming or yearning about. I'll feel like the stories come from the setting first. It's a sense of place. It's some
Hmm.
small detail or something that comes first. And then the characters come after. That becomes a more inorganic part of my process. Once I'm, say, I'm going to be writing about a place, I'll think about the characters. I'll think about what stories can only be told in that place, and who are the characters to tell it, and what's at stake personally, internally, as well as externally for them. And that's my launching point for a lot of how my stories start.
Wow, very cool. I gotta say, I wasn't expecting that answer. That's awesome. That's some super cool
All right,
insight.
listen, I want to say, don't try this at home. I mean, I'm kind of laughing. I think it's really important, if there are any new writers or people beginning to write, is to the importance of doing it your way. Look, it's also important to learn how all your favorite writers or the teachers do it, but don't get caught up in the tyranny of how to write. I mean, even the best writers, Stephen King, he's got his methods in. Yeah, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, you're not a writer. Okay, according to On Writing, I'm not a writer. I jest, but yeah, it's great to listen to other authors and even try their methods on for size, but never rule your own method out, even if it isn't the way everyone else is doing it. It's okay to do it and have camaraderie and to have kinship with the way other people do it, and it's also okay to just experience the world and experience the way you're writing, the way you do it as well. And so I want to make sure that that gets put out there.